All right, we got a little bit of a unique one today, I believe. This is the ELAFROS, I wonder where they come up with these company names. The ELAFROS Tool Creeper. This is basically, as you can see, just a little work tray that you can have next to you when you're underneath a car or if you're doing brakes or something like that. I actually have my own version that I've been using for years. I was kind of hopeful that this might be a little more of a professional upgrade from my little homemade thing. We got these little handles that fold out so you can carry your tools along like that. Just snap right back into place. And let's take a look at this. All right, obviously the idea here is you can have your tools right next to you on this tray. Say you're doing a brake job, you finish your brakes, and you just push it over onto the next wheel for you there. Just have it real nice and handy. I did promise we would give honest reviews on this channel. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm going to give an honest review here. All right, so for $30, you get this plastic tray here. And one of the first things that I noticed that, to be honest with you, kind of turned me off to it is the casters are very poor quality. They do not spin very well at all. They kind of bind. If you don't have a lot of stuff in the tray, the wheels just kind of skid sideways because the casters don't really move. I suppose we could try lubricating them up. And, well, that does loosen them up a little bit better. Okay, well, that definitely worked a lot better. I don't know if that's going to be permanent or not, but for 30 bucks, I would have... The thing with it is, manufacturers need to realize that when you first unbox an item, you immediately get an impression on, whoa, that is way better quality than I was expecting, or, uh-oh, that looks really cheap, and I'm kind of sort of questioning my decision here. And unfortunately, when you've got something like that, where the most important thing here is the casters, it's a rolling tool creeper, low quality like that unfortunately gives you a very bad first impression. There's some other things too. This is totally subjective to my opinion alone, but the very minimum, your storage surface has to be able to hold a set of sockets. And you can do it if you kind of put them diagonal like this, I suppose. But it's just a little aggravating. I guess you could set it up top there, but then it's not very stable. You certainly don't want to lose your tools. The other thing is these little divots here like this are supposed to be for storage of nuts and bolts. But again, just my opinion, whenever you have nut and bolt storage like this, it has to be magnetic. That way, if you accidentally knock the tray or something like that, you don't lose your parts all over the place. The other thing, a magnetic tray allows you to put nuts and bolts in order of removal as well and maintain those positions. This is not magnetic. Now, it does have a metallic surface here with the company emblem, but it's not magnetic. And the purpose of that is it's supposed to be so that you can put a magnetic light underneath the car with your creeper like that. But there's pretty limited functionality in the design with like little divots like this or these little holes here. It's a lot of wasted space if it was just a flat surface here. The other thing about it, wow, it actually rolls really funny now that one of these wheels, that one right there, is lubricated up. But anyway, the other thing about it, the depth on this, it's not very deep. So if you've got parts that you're storing on here, or if you've got a lot of tools that you kind of stack up a little bit, not a lot of depth with it. To be honest with you, I guess I'm just a little bit miffed at the $30 price tag for something that you can so easily make your own with this. As a matter of fact, this is what I have been traditionally using for the past, I don't know, 10 years or something. I call this my tool truck. This is just an old transmission pan from a rebuild project I did, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. And all I did was just weld on these 3-inch casters I like the 3-inch casters because not only does it make this roll really smooth over any cracks or over my particular race deck floor, but also it brings the tool tray up to a much nicer working level. The increased height like this means it's much easier for me to reach my tools without having to bend over way down here. Also, the depth of this makes it easier to store heavier, longer tools and stack them up even and still have stability in there. Also, with it being metal, typically what I'll do is I'll just put a magnetic parts tray, stick it right there. Now I've got easy access to my nuts and bolts, and they're not going to go anywhere if I accidentally kick the tray. Once I'm done working on one side, I just push this along and move it over to the other wheel. I can actually stand up on this like that. I've done things like put a differential on here and I can wheel it into position under a car and then more easily lift it up into position and stuff like that. Not quite sure we can do that with the ELAFROS here. As a matter of fact, let's see. All right, well, it does somewhat hold my weight, but the plastic is buckling really bad. Yeah, it's pretty spongy there. Again, that's not the intended use of this thing, obviously, is as a skateboard. But again, for $30 and something you can so easily make yourself, I just expect something that's going to knock my socks off. All right, earlier this evening, I had to do an alternator job. And one of the things that I did find actually maybe is a better use for this is just as an inside the engine compartment tray. The wheels actually kind of do help to grab onto some corners or surfaces and make it fairly stable in there. But again, the lack of magnetic storage on here did make it not quite as convenient as what I normally do, which is just position a couple of larger magnetic trays around my work surface. But I don't know, I mean, can you get a baking pan that would pretty much do this? And it would be metal. Even with Tool Truck here, I could just simply take a magnetic tray, put it on the bottom here, position this, and even with it at an angle like that, I can put my sockets or parts there and the magnet will hold them in place without them sliding out of position. Right, well, my apologies, but we are an honest review channel here, and I'm just thinking for something like this, I'm looking for something that's just really innovative and has a lot of creative ideas that you wouldn't have thought yourself, or that might be very difficult to replicate by building something yourself. I think my homemade tool truck is actually far more impressive and professional looking. So anyway, to each their own. Again, a lot of this is just subjective and what I'm particularly looking for in a product like that. But if you are interested, we will go ahead and we'll put a link to this exact product and maybe a couple of the other things that we used in this video. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful and entertaining. We will see you next time.